Ain't nothing but being brutally honest coming at you with another video. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome my special guest. He is the Raider Critique. There's got to be something brutally honest about you on that name, right?
Oh, yeah, man. It's always brutally honest because I tell the truth with intensity and I don't drink the corporate Kool-Aid.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, bro. I'm not a cookie cutter whatsoever. You know, when I see the name Critique, man, it has to be something realistic or speak how you want to speak.
Well, I'm always realistic, man, because I can't live in fairy tale land like some of these Raider fans do, or even some of these NFL fans do, man. I cannot live to be lied to, which I feel like that's exactly all the organization does to us Raider fans. Raider Nation's constantly lied to by the organization, regardless on who's in charge. I really just try to come out here and try to make heads or tails of the moves. I run a weekly show. You know, during the season, I run 2 shows a week. A post-game, a pregame, and a postgame, and then of course, like, you know, I'll throw some little things here and there, you know, like press conferences, things like that. But mostly, it's just a show, man. Postseason and pre-show, you know what I mean? It's just, and I'm always trying to I run on a lot of speculation. You know what I'm saying? Because they're never gonna tell us the truth. But really, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's not a chicken. You feel me? So, you know, I try to just decipher everything that they're trying to do, and I come up with my own hypothesis. And, you know, sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong. You know?
Yeah. You know, most times we do some takes. We might be wrong here and there. But, you know, most of us as fans, we want what's best for the team, you know, whether we disagree with the team's decision. But, you know, looking at your team, the quarterback situation, man. I know this is probably a topic you've been hearing too much about, but chime in on Jimmy Garoppolo. What's been going on, man? There's been some failed physical, and if he doesn't pass it, what's going to happen? You guys get off the books, right?
Well, supposedly we get off the books if he doesn't pass his physical. That means that all the guaranteed money that he was supposed to get, I think he still gets the guarantees, but he doesn't get the contract. At least I believe so. But I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not really a numbers guy, and I really don't cover contracts, man. I can tell you this. It was a lateral move to go get him, especially for a guy who's going to start off OTAs and start off preseason broken, which is exactly what I was expecting, you know, because, I mean, let's be honest, man. Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't stayed healthy his whole tenure as a starting quarterback. Now, when he was backing up Tom Brady, yeah, of course he stayed healthy. He barely played. But you guys have dealt with, you know, the injury bug when it comes to Jimmy Garoppolo. And it doesn't seem like that's changing anytime soon because he's already broken before he ever got here.
Yeah, you know, just in the previous past, man, this guy just never stayed healthy. This guy's made of glass. I mean, I'm pretty sure you heard of Mr. Glass. Once he breaks, he breaks. It's Jimmy Garoppolo. This guy has like so much this is like your typical pretty boy. You know, your pretty boy on the football field. He can't stay healthy. You don't want to get touched. But this guy, he's always been the type of guy that brings the people in the locker room, but never stay healthy. You know, it's like I've always tried to look for the best of interest for all teams, but I can understand why the Raiders got him because he's familiar with Josh McDaniels. They played it. I mean, he was in New England. He knows the system. So that's pretty obvious. But the injury history, that's where I might just question it now. You guys had an opportunity to get yourself an insurance policy. which, there was Will Levis in the draft, which I thought he could have been in your guys' spot and you could have took him. But then you guys waited to the 4th round for this Aiden O'Connell. What's your thoughts of this kid?
Well, I like Aiden O'Connell. I was actually watching some highlights of him. You know what I mean? His numbers don't look too great, but he really can drop the ball right in on the lane. He's really got a beautiful, pretty spiral, dude. And, I think that he could probably make the throws that he needs to. He lacks arm strength going to the sideline, which is something I worry about. But, when he drops them in, they're pretty damn accurate. Now, here's the issue, though. We didn't really address the offensive line, and that's been one of the major problems with this Raiders team for so many years. This offensive line, even though we did address it in the draft last year, those guys were getting bullied up front. And it didn't matter what quarterback was back there, whether it was Stidham or it was Derek Carr, or it could have even been Chase Garbers. They were going to be running for their life, period. And that's what worries me about Jimmy Garoppolo being behind this line, because he's already got a broken foot. They didn't address the line this year. And Aiden O'Connell, with him being a rookie, we're going to be going through a lot of growing pains.
Yeah, especially you got to have the continuity with the offensive line too. So, you're right about it. The offensive line is very important in the position, especially the quarterback. Like Jimmy has injury history and you guys didn't even invest protecting your quarterback. But maybe they feel the continuity is there. I question sometimes my team because of the offensive line sometimes, but you want to have the guys that work together. You want them to build the confidence, build a team confidence. Like the Niners didn't address a tackle. We believe in Colt McKivitz. We're giving this guy the benefit of the doubt. Maybe the Raiders feel differently about their offense line. Maybe they like what they see. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, they obviously didn't address it. I mean, Dylan Parham, with as good as a draft pick as he was, he does need to beef up. He needs to get stronger to where he doesn't get pushed back into the quarterback. Saw it way too many times happen last year where he was running into Derek Carr. And let's be real, man. Derek Carr doesn't really move side to side very well anyway. He broke his fibula back in 2016. I still think that he still has some hindering issues with that ankle, and that's probably why he didn't like taking off running so much, and why he was basically a statue in that pocket. But at the guard position, we were definitely manhandled by pretty much every team we played. Our offensive line was getting bullied and pushed back into the quarterback, and Garoppolo is not a mobile quarterback. He's not.
Oh yeah, he's not. But
I was banging the table for Hendon Hooker, dude, in the 3rd round. And we went and got that trickster special teamer instead of there was plenty of linebackers on the board. Hendon Hooker was still on the board. And I don't understand why McSweatervest decided to go off and get this, go get the special teams guy and then wait for Aiden O'Connell. Now, if you watch the presser today, McButtnugget decided that he was going to brighten up every time, they talked about Aiden O'Connell. And to be honest with you, I mean, watching his pressers is depressing. The dude doesn't know how to stop saying or it's mind-boggling that this idiot even got a damn got a head coaching job for a second time. The dude doesn't know how to talk to the media, and as far as I'm concerned, he doesn't really know how to run a tight ship neither.
I mean, like, they just look at his resume because of what he did in New England. That's all they give him the most credit for. I mean, if you look at what he did at Denver, the guy just had a childish attitude. Like, nobody in the locker room respect him. But I don't know what's going on with Davante Adams, but I think he's questioning Josh McDaniels, just like how Darren Waller was calling him out, right? So there's going to be some talk. So there's going to be a point where Josh McDaniels might have to go because the players will probably be fed up with him at some point.
Well, see, I've been sitting here talking about this too, and I've been talking about it with our own fan base, of course, been talking about it with the Raider Nation, a lot of Raider Nation podcasters. Some of them just don't get, man, that Josh McDaniels is basically a product of the system of Tom Brady. You see, because McDaniels hasn't done anything with the Patriot way that he knows of without Tom Brady. He hasn't done anything substantial. They can say, oh, well, they took Denver to the playoffs. No, Tim Tebow took Denver to the playoffs along with that badass defense they had. McDumbnuts didn't have anything to do with that. You know what I'm saying? But what I did see, which is basically what I saw, what happened when he came over here to the Raiders, was the same thing he did in Denver. He gets rid of his starting quarterback in Jay Cutler, acquires a Kyle Orton, falls flat on his face to the point to where they had to draft Tim Tebow and start Tebow halfway through the season the next year just to be able to make the playoffs. And by then, McDumbass was already gone. You see what I mean? So, and then what he did with Indianapolis, he doesn't show any loyalty. He doesn't show any dedication or, as far as I'm concerned, integrity with what he did with the Colts last year, how he accepted the job and then decided to run back to Belichick to find out that he must have caught word that Vegas was getting ready to open up. So obviously that Gruden stuff must have been in play before it ever dropped for him to go ahead and run back to New England, be under Belichick for one more year before we went ahead and gave him a shot over here in Las Vegas. And I know it's speculation, but honestly, it's not very far-fetched if you think about it. But this dude has no integrity. I mean, literally, you got the best wide receiver in the game questioning him and then having to pretty much shut his mouth because probably the organization said something to him, and it just seems like anybody who speaks out against Josh McDaniels is pretty much blacklisted and canceled.
Or they're either traded. Just look at Darren Waller. I think Darren Waller had something to say, and I believe Derek Carr was just pretty much on his way out at this point because how many head coaches do you go through with a quarterback like Derek Carr? I mean, at some point, he had to go. I mean, it was just surprising that he lasted so long with head coaching changes, So, like, you think about it, how certain teams have dealt with quarterbacks like that. But as much as some Raider fans give credit for Derek Carr, I mean, the guy may have had one serious injury during his season, but at least he was durable at times. At least he wasn't somebody that missed a lot of games. Like, watching my team from time to time, bro, we've always dealt with quarterback injuries. And Jimmy Garoppolo was one of the problems. But you look at the rest of Kyle Shanahan's play call, he could be a genius at times. But sometimes I question what the hell is up with this guy. Like, I feel like sometimes I do question the protection, Like, we led the lead with most injuries at quarterback, and most teams would have had their season over. But we were on to, our fourth-string quarterback, and he was out of the game. Like, can you tell me how many teams would dealt with that and still make the playoffs?
Right. And then not only on top of that, what was the two things that you guys had that's kind of similar over here to Oakland or to Las Vegas? That's still, as far as I'm concerned, we're still Oakland. But, what's the one similarity the two similarities that they have? They got badass wide receiving core. We have Adams. You guys had Debo. You know what I mean? And then, you guys developed a running game once you got Christian McCaffrey.
Yep. And
that also benefited him, which will also benefit him here with Josh Jacobs if they would have paid the guy. As far as I'm concerned, now this, there's no telling on whether Josh Jacobs is going to even play. That's still up in the air. He has not shown up to OTAs, and that's because they didn't pay him. You know what I mean? Garoppolo's going to need somebody like Josh Jacobs to succeed.
Yep.
And to be honest with you, I said it last year, if you can't win with Devontae Adams, then why are you here? Which is why Derek Carr needed to go. As much as I love Derek Carr, and I'm a huge Derek Carr stan is what they would call me. I'm a huge Derek Carr stan. Love the guy. You know what I mean? But it was his time to go. And the reason why it was his time to go is because how many head coaches did he go through? How many offensive coordinators did he go through? It's just
a lot, bro. A lot of changing coaches. I mean, you had a lot of OCs, a lot of different head coaches. It's like at some point, bro, like the quarterback has dealt with so much. For Derek Carr, he played for 9 years for this organization. He could have played for any other organization, but he wanted to stay here. But the problem was the change of the culture. Josh McDaniel is just his ego, bro. He warns everybody's welcome. Like, you see a lot of these great players. Like, if they didn't see enough from what he did in Denver, bro, then they think maybe he might have matured, but I think in some ways, bro, they think that this is what's going to happen. He's going to do exactly what he did in New England. And guess what? A lot of these New England assistant coaches don't excel outside of New England. Like
That's right.
Eric Mangini had maybe a successful season here and there, but he flopped. You had Romeo Cornell was a good DC in New England, but flop. You had there's just a lot of Matt Patricia, Bill O'Brien. I can go on with the list. They're flops. They're just not like Belichick is like their daddy, bro. He just nurtures these guys to think there's something. And then you had, I'll make an exception. Brian Flores, I think he could have still been a good head coach, but maybe it just wasn't at the point, Well,
let's say, didn't he get hired somewhere else?
I think as a DC.
Yep. So, he'll work his way back up. And Brian Flores, honestly, I think that was probably the best thing that happened to Miami in over 10 years, honestly. But, man, I just don't know what the hell these guys are doing. And it's, to me, the New England way, the New England project only worked with Tom Brady. It didn't work. It's not working with Mac Jones. It did, and maybe it'll work, but I think that they rely too much. The Raider Nation relies too much of the Patriot way coming over here, of the winning ways, knowing damn well that without Belichick and without Brady, it's probably not going to be executed to its fullest potential.
It's just a complete different culture. New England's been established for many years, and you're trying to build it off of over here, which still a work in progress. But Josh McDaniels,
especially guys like me who don't want to change the Raider culture. We are just fine with Al's way. We don't need your fucking way. Take that bullshit back to New England. You know what? That's how I feel about it. Get that fucking Patriot way bullshit out of here, dude. Because that is not how Al would do it. We do it with integrity, and we do it with the commitment to excellence, not because we want to bend over, suck the corporate cock, and hope they give us something.
Oh, dude. That's how – come on. The way you guys ran the culture, I think Mark Davis is just a stooge, bro. He's just getting some of these –
chill.
Yeah.
He's a corporate – he is nothing like his father. Nothing like his father at all, man. That's why I think Al ran his ass out of the building when he was still alive, because this dude knows nothing about football. It's just – it is what it is, man. I'm not a huge fan of Mark Davis. My alliance and my loyalty lies with Al. Mark, it's going to stay with the Davis name. I'm happy he's a Davis, but he's not doing this shit right. And I think it's because he did get his back slammed up against the wall with this whole Gruden debacle, because Gruden was starting to win with this team.
Until the incident happened, and that's what kind of – but it was so long time ago, and I don't know how they just came up with conspiracy, but then it kind of linked to the Washington like at the point. And then now you see Dan Snyder selling the team because because anything with the connection, it kind of linked towards Gruden. It just didn't make any sense at first. Then it just kind of had the linking with Gruden's brother, and it just linked towards John Gruden.
Yeah. Well, his son still has a job with the Raiders as well as strength and conditioning.
Oh, yeah.
So there's still a Gruden in the organization. You know what I mean? And then we got Gruden over there. Now, Gruden's over there helping out Derek Carr in New Orleans, is the damn headlines I was seeing. So, it sucks, man, because I don't see us doing no better than 7-10. I'm saying 7-10 at best. And I think Jimmy Garoppolo is probably going to have syphilis by week 6. So, he'll be out, and he won't be here. And we'll have to wind up starting a rookie, and hopefully Aiden O'Connell will be able to at least get us a couple wins under our belt and be more prepared for next season. And I'm talking about that, man, because that's pretty much basically saying that I'm tossing my hands up and going belly up for this year, when in this year, Super Bowl is supposed to be in Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. It's supposed to be. It's in Vegas, and, that's just the big headline because the Super Bowl is coming to Vegas, but – realistically, man, Jimmy Garoppolo cannot stay healthy. That's the only thing. But the the Raiders defense is probably like the most question mark. Like I've talked with Violator and he thinks that the linebacker is probably one of the weakest spots for you guys. And you guys need to at least sign somebody or address the position. And that's the issue with the Raiders is the run defense. How you think we beat you guys? We were running with McCaffrey, running it right towards your guys' weakest spot, and you guys didn't address it. And then you were talking about offensive line, the interior. I think that's probably something you guys have to be more concerned about. Maybe you might have to bring in some more quarterbacks off the streets just to get them to last the season. You know what I mean?
Well, when it comes to defense, we got glaring holes everywhere that is not named Max Crosby. Honestly, we tried to address it in the draft. We got this defensive tackle in Byron Young. But linebackers, when Wayne says anything, bro, everybody should definitely perk up and listen because he's not wrong. All right, Wayne is not wrong. When it came up to week 16 last year, and it was an 18-week year last season, we only had 3 active linebackers. Luke Masterson, and then there was a couple other guys. Isaac Rochelle, which isn't on the team anymore. And then there was some other cat. Like, that's how non-existent our linebacking core was. Denzel Perryman was gone. He did come back toward the end of the year, but he's not there anymore. We didn't address linebacker in the draft. I think we got a Gator in like round 6 or round 5. Definitely not the spot where you wanted to pick up a top-tier linebacker, especially like that's our most depleted position on the team was linebacker. Easy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like linebacker, like I think that's what makes it more important for you guys to stop the run because they make all the tackles on the sidelines or make the plays in the line of scrimmage. So, yeah, that's a little glaring holes. There's some weakest spots when you look at it, but, I think I can respect you're realistic. You're saying 7 wins as realistically, and probably most of your fans will probably just look at you and say, I don't know what this guy's talking about. But I think I agree with it because you look at there's a lot of glaring holes and Josh McDaniels kind of been put in some tough situations. It's really tough but you got to build this type of culture and they got to buy into it. And I don't think nobody's buying into Josh McDaniels. I don't think they will. You know what I mean?
I don't think anybody will either. There might be a lot of fans out here who are on the McDaniels bandwagon. You know what I mean? But sooner or later, we're all going to figure out exactly what's inevitably going to happen. He's going to tear our team down, and he's going to set us back for at least 5 years. And Mark Davis can't do anything about it because Mark Davis cannot replace him. He owes too much money to the NFL because of that multi-billion-dollar stadium that's in Vegas. I believe he still owes over $500 million. All right. He paid John Gruden $40 million. All right. And that was what his guarantee was for 4 seasons, $10 million a year. I think he was given $40 million. And we have no idea what McButtfucker is making either, or his coaching staff. So we really have no idea how much money, but I can tell you this, Mark Davis is broke.
Yeah.
Mark Davis is broke.
He's more like the puppet boy for the NFL and Jerry Jones. So he just does whatever they tell him what to do. So I guess
exactly. And that's why they give us all those damn overseas games and takes away one of our home games. You know what I mean? When we were still there, they just tell Mark what they want him to do, and he'll go and do it just because he's trying to be the NFL corporate bigot owners' friends. And what he doesn't understand is that we're Raiders. We'll never be their friends, and you will never get in good with them, no matter how much you do for them. No matter what you do, your dad has already tarnished you. He has tarnished the name with the NFL corporate bigot owners, and they're going to do everything they can to get you out of there.
At some point, somebody has to buy the team. But just looking at the positive side of the Raiders, what's your thoughts of the draft? There's got to be some guys that
Tyree Wilson. That was a very positive move in the draft, buddy. Tyree Wilson. I was happy to at least start off defensively. And then the tight end. Yes, we do have a glaring hole because we decided to get and move on from Darren Waller, which, by the way, couldn't stay healthy to save his life. But, he was still, I would say, in the AFC top 3 tight end.
For sure. Because he was very like when he was a mismatch, but just never stayed healthy at times. And I mean, you look at Michael Myers. I think he's the best tight end in the draft class, bar none. Not even close. Like, no disrespect to King K, whatever from Utah. I just thought Michael Myers was just the best pure tight end, and there was just one dumb team that just passed on him, and then they actually eventually drafted a Michigan tight end. I'm talking Dallas, bro. They're the dumbest team. Why would you reach for a D tackle? Why would you reach for a D tackle you can get like in the second round? But the Raiders got themselves. I say they did pretty well in the draft. You know, they got.
I gave us a B. I did. I gave us a B in the draft because at least we did address positions of need, and we did get the best tight end in the draft in Michael Mayer. You know what I mean? So I can handle that, man. You know, I mean, we needed it. He's built more like a tight end, unlike Darren Waller, who was built like a tight end and ran like a wide receiver. You know what I mean? But it's damn, man. We could have used that pick to at least get a quarterback, as far as I was concerned, at least one of these top tier quarterbacks. But we needed a tight end. If we wouldn't have got rid of Darren Waller, we wouldn't have needed a tight end, I don't think.
It just kind of didn't make any sense at that point. I mean, you did sign Austin Hooper and you had OJ Howard, but Will Levis was kind of like sliding, and you guys could have at least got him in case of whatever was going to happen with Jimmy Garoppolo. But now that you just have Jimmy, and it's very uncertain at the moment because if he doesn't pass the physical, that's going to be something in jeopardy. And then you have to look at other options at quarterback. You have Carson Wentz, who's another injury-prone guy, but I don't even know if he's worth the risk. But there's other options. But, you know, you want to get somebody to get ahead of the schedule and know the system, you know?
Well, I can definitely tell you this. It's not going to be Tom Brady. All right, Tom Brady's not coming out of the owner's box, and he's not coming down to suit up, although it might be against the rules right now. We already know how the NFL corporate bigot owners are. You guys keep talking about it. They might go ahead and do that, and they might lift that rule to just go ahead and let him come down and play as being a partial owner. But I really don't see it just for the simple fact that that rule is there for a reason, that he can't play and also own any partial ownership of the team. You know, I like that, but I also don't put anything past the NFL too, because whatever sells is what they'll do. The NFL is not about competition anymore. It's about entertainment. And I think that's what drives me nuts the most about it, because it used to be about competition.
It used to be like embrace the real competition, fair games. Now it's just all, you know, you can question a little the rig here and there, and there's some money into it.
Watered down. It's the best way to put it. It's watered down. Defense can't really play defense anymore. You can't hit the quarterback like you used to. You used to be able to light the wide receiver up if they touched the ball. There was nothing else about it. If they touched the ball, you could light their ass up no matter what way you wanted to do it. You can't do that anymore. They've pretty much watered down the game, and it's all offense, no defense, and it's hella points. I mean, that's basically all it is. And then, of course, now you got these players over here swapping jerseys with each other, shaking hands, the camaraderie in between just the NFL players as a whole. Back in my day, that didn't go down. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was a competition factor there that, you know, everybody wanted to be the best. And I just feel like that they've taken that aspect from the game.
The way it used to be back then was to earn respect, you would have to demand respect, you know, like in the old fashion of what we grew up in some days in the NFL, man, you had to be the most hated player. On defense, you wanted to earn that respect to the opposing team. And if they didn't like you, it didn't matter. You wanted to let them know to remember you. And even back then, the respect was mutual. Now you just want to be butt buddies. I get it. You want to have respect for your opponent, but like back then, that was the meaning of respect when they talked about you and say, hey, this is what happened to me. I got hit by this guy. And, you know, they can talk about that story. You know, like there's a lot of these players, you know, like for example, Jack Tatum was a very physical hitter and people respected him because he hit people. Ronnie Lott was another guy. Chris Collinsworth probably has nightmares to this day, but he respects the hell out of them. You don't have that in today's NFL. It's more like, oh, he's my buddy. I'm going to give him the props.
Yeah. You know, where did it go? I don't know. I mean, I was watching football, I guess, when it decided to go away. But, you know, it just, to me, it's just not the same. It's not the same, especially since, I mean, it's easy for y'all. They're not trying to sell your legacy upriver. To me, it hurts because my legacy is being sold upriver, and it's our own fan base doing it. And I think that hurts the most.
Yeah, and then you guys going from location too. So that's kind of like I've heard I heard the vibe is just not the same. Like, why is it like so like complicated? Like you guys used to always take over a stadium at your home field. But Vegas, I've seen a little mix that other opposing fans have taken over your guys' stadium. I don't understand that.
Well, Raider Nation, and I can't speak for everybody, but mostly all of Raider Nation is blue collar. We're all hard workers. We get out there, we're not filthy, stinking rich. You know what I mean? We get out there and we work for our money and we do the best that we can. And what money we do make, we would go to the games. Well, they've made those prices so high in that Vegas stadium that most of us real fans can't show up, aside from dudes like Violator. And Violator worked real hard for his money. I don't know how he affords to be able to go there. But then again, it's also helpful that they actually gave him his own spot in the Hall of Fame too. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So, which, that was definitely needed. But dude, most of us can't afford those style tickets.
It's hard.
It's hard, man, when you're sitting there paying anywhere in between $1,200 and $3,600 for, decent seats. Yeah, you could spend $400 or $500 and be in the nosebleeds. You know what I mean? But I always like going to the games for the tailgates because the Raider Nation all on its own at the tailgate was just such a wonderful fan base, wonderful people. You know what I mean? You can smell the cooking going on and we're all hanging out and everybody's having a good time. You know what I mean? I guess it would be a little bit different if you would go to division rival games. I guess it would be a little bit different then. But all in all, it was a wonderful experience in the parking lot. But as in Vegas, I haven't been there yet. I probably will never be able to afford to go. You know what I mean? But from what I hear from all of my comrades and all of my shipmates, it's totally different.
Oh, yeah.
It's different, dude. It's not the same.
Yeah, everything's different with new stadiums and all the vibe. Like you say, the tailgate's the best part. When you go to a game, for most of these fans who just can't afford to go to a game, it's totally understandable. But if you're really dedicated to your team, you just might have to save a little money, just put a little bit of money there, and then put the schedule, save the time, dude. And that's what I always do. Like most of the time, dude, I don't go to a lot of games every year. I might just go to at least 2 to 3 games a year at best. But this year, I'm going to try something different. I'm going to go down SoFi and see what it's like out there because I want to experience something different. I've been down Levi's 8 different times. I've been down Candlestick Park, different vibes, different environment, but you want to at least explore something different for once, So I might have to put a review for SoFi September 17. I got to see what it's all about, but I'm excited for it. Whether it's nosebleeds or whatever, bro, I don't even care if it's in the top of the outer space, bro. I'm going to just root for that team no matter where it's at, bro.
Yeah, I feel that, man. I mean, I'm gonna root for these Raiders until I'm blue in the face, pissed off by mid-season. Because that's normally how it works out. It's normally how it works out. But
wait,
I saw a question right there. Yeah, how I became a Raiders fan. Well, you got about 20 minutes, or do you want the short version?
Whatever 20 minutes or short version, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, well, it was a toss-up in between two teams. It happens to be, my beloved Raiders and then, of course, CG's San Francisco 49ers. It was a toss-up. I'm from Lemoore, California. Both sides of my family, my mother's sides were 49ers fans. Father's side were Raiders fans. It wasn't until I really started doing my research and really studying both teams at about 1986 or so. I was 6 years old. And really, I just was bouncing in between the two of them until I was about 11. And then I got 2 books from the library. It was the history of the San Francisco 49ers and then the history and the legacy of Al Davis. And after I read about Al Davis, after I went through both books, Al Davis was a maverick, man. The way Al Davis portrayed himself, how Al Davis held himself, how he held himself accountable, and also what he stood for is the reason why I became a Raider fan. For him to be the number one guy to go in there and sue the NFL and tell them to pretty much fuck off, that he was moving his team. No matter what, didn't matter what they had to say, whether he had approval or not. And then wound up moving his team, and then on top of that, winning 3 championships right after that. That's the kind of guy I would aspire to be.
I mean, he was just a no pushover. He didn't give a damn. He wanted to do his way. You know, he had that. You know, he kind of, you know, Al Davis during that time, he looked like the mob, bro. He just looked the part where he just wanted to do whatever he wants and didn't want to be told what to do.
But, dude, I mean, no, I don't play the Autumn Wind where I go live. I actually play my own music. But, yeah, you can go and check out the channel as well. It's right here, The Raider Critique on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And my favorite Raiders player, obviously, man, I would have to go with Howie Long. You know what I'm saying? For defense, that was one of my favorite defenders. I also am a real huge fan of Eddie Anderson. And then I am a huge Tim Brown. And also, I know you see it over there. That's a Raider Jerry Rice jersey.
Oh,
because
man.
I'll be honest with you, bro. That was my favorite fucking player. He was
Rice.
my absolute favorite player, regardless on who he played for, because he was so badass. And when we got him as a Raider, man,
We were probably
laughed
happy.
my fucking ass. Hell yeah, I was happy. I was like, how the fucking 49ers let this dude go? For real? Fuck it. Come on over here, dude. Come win some championships.
Yeah.
Didn't really result into that, but we did make the AFC Championship. We did go to the Super Bowl and had to go against our old coach and ultimately lost. But, yeah, man, Jerry Rice was a damn good player. I mean, shit. I got him right here.
Oh,
You know what I
man.
mean?
Ah,
Yeah, I got him right here.
I can't,
And then, of
I
course,
can't
you know,
picture that guy in that uniform, but I get it, bro. You got to respect the GOAT in some way.
of course, you know, you got
Oh,
Rich Gannon.
Gannon was having like a really good season where he was I think he was the lead passing in yards that year. And dude, like there was a group of good players during that time. That was the last time the Raiders even won a playoff game. And then the last time you guys ever got further was when Lincoln Kennedy was your starting tackle, which I'm in the works with. But, you know, I just like getting with NFL players, you know, outside of football. I like to just go outside the box a little bit with everybody else. You know, I don't like to just go with the bland and just go with the fan base. You know, I like to mix it up. And sometimes they complain about it, but I'm saying I want to be different. I don't really care. Like, it's the same thing. You know, I want to switch it up a little from time to time.
I don't know, bro. I probably got about 10 or 12 jerseys.
Dude, I have like so many customized, bro. It's no joke. Like, it's just, you know, we all got our own passion, man. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the 2000 team that went to the Super Bowl in San Diego. And, yeah, John Gruden just knew about your damn team. That's the crazy part. He just knew everything. He knew about Rich Gannon's weakness and everything. He knew what to expect. And that Bucs defense was really good that year. They were just externally good.
Well, dude, we also ran a ghost playbook in that time too, man. It was still Gruden's playbook, and Bill Callahan was basically just sitting there going through the motions. The guy was never really a head coach, and it showed. I mean, he was basically just along for the ride like everybody else. And when we made it to the Super Bowl, Gruden called everything that we were doing. It just they knew. I mean, he threw 5 interceptions for a reason, and it was just. Fucking man, that was ours. Really, the Super Bowl that pisses me off the most was the one that we weren't even a part of, where the tuck rule happened, because we would have whooped the Rams' ass. I know we would have beat the Rams, but if we wouldn't have got screwed by that tuck rule, you know what I mean? We would have been the ones hoisting that Lombardi trophy instead of old fucking New England.
Oh, dude, like that was the change of the play. That was what cemented the Patriots' legacy, was the tuck rule. And it's still talked about to this day. You know, you get a lot of these controversial calls, and that's what really cemented the Patriots dynasty, was that play alone, and it kept building their momentum going into it, you know. So, and for some of these Rams fans, some of them probably would have looked at you and say, you know, there's some Rams fans that are kind of bragging about saying, oh, we run LA now. Not really. I think as far as fan base, I think you guys run LA the most because you guys have the most loyal fan base in LA. But the so-called Rams fans, they think they run LA because they won the Super Bowl. Like,
So
really, listen.
They only got one, and all 5 of their fans rejoiced.
Yeah, hey,
Just
but
like the Chargers.
hey, you know what they wanted? LA wanted the Raiders, but the NFL said, "Hey, we'll give you the Chargers and Rams." How about that? And I don't know, man. Nobody cares about these two teams. I mean, no offense, but when it comes to popularity, man, they come to go see the Dallas Cowboys training camp in Oxnard. That's what they look at. They care about the Raiders. The Niners, they have a big takeover in LA when it comes to the Rams. I mean, what is it with LA? You know, LA's trying so hard. They're giving the Rams the Super Bowl. They're trying to be too cute with them. And I think they bought the championship, man. Let's be real. They gave them the Super Bowl. And we just, you know, it was more like we were giving it to them.
You know, and they moved the wrong team.
Yeah.
They moved the wrong teams to LA. They really did.
I think the real team in LA was personally the Raiders, but they just felt like differently about it, which is, you know.
It's all a money marketing scheme. My buddy Murph, man, says it best, dude. If you just want to know the true answers, follow the money. Because if you follow the money, then you find out exactly why they did what they did. You know, the reason why they moved the Raiders to Las Vegas is because the Raiders, the franchise, the organization itself is not just a nationwide brand. It is a worldwide brand. We have chapters everywhere from Ireland to the United Kingdom to Australia to all over the United States in damn near every city in the United States. You can find a Black Hole chapter close next to you somewhere. Whether, you know, depending on what state you're in, like in Texas, we have 4 chapters in Texas. You know what I mean? We ride deep and we're all over the damn place. So, you know, I mean, it's just, it's a big letdown because we should have been winning. We were there, and it's just, there's so many of us. As far as I'm concerned, I think we're one of the biggest fan bases in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you guys are like
fans right now.
Yeah, you know, outside of all the other fan base, you know, the ones I give the most credit for as the most passionate, you know, like as far as top 5, you know, like the Raiders, I think they're in between. I think they have the strongest passionate fan base, but then the Eagles, they're just crazy. They're just
the Eagles are the Raiders of the NFC.
Yeah, but in the East Coast, East Coast, man, like if you watch how people go to Lincoln Financial Field, that's like going to the Oakland Coliseum, man. Like that's just, there's nothing different, but it's passionate. You can't take that away.
Yep. I got a lot of homeboys in Philly, man, who tell me they get pretty damn crunk up there. Like it's basically Oakland times 2. You know, like they get crunk up there.
Oh, dude,
you're damn right the Lambs run nothing, man. The only team that's running anything in California right now happens to be the Niners, because the Chokers will never do it. And the Rams are a joke, man. They had one good season where they sat there and they broke the bank to get everybody over there. And that's why they won.
And they still haven't gained a lot of those fan base at that point. So, you know, like, I get it. It might take years for them to regain the fan base, but I'll at least give some respect to somebody who's an original Rams fan and who's been through the ups and downs with this Rams team. You know, Ramelia Sports Report, if you ever get a chance with him, he's the original OG. I think he's been a fan since the late 70s. I mean, you'll probably
admirable, dude, that he actually stayed with the team even when they moved over to St. Louis and then moved back. Because if I remember right, bro, wasn't St. Louis actually a fairly decent stadium?
They had like a pretty good stadium there, but then they had different teams. They had the St. Louis Cardinals also, besides baseball. There was a St. Louis Cardinals team, and I'm not kidding. You Google the entire history of the Arizona Cardinals. They actually played in Chicago first, and then they played in St. Louis, and then they moved down to Arizona, which they were called Phoenix, and then they changed their stadium to Glendale. But, you know, I learned the history, and then the Rams actually started off in Cleveland, which is a crazy fact. And then they moved to L.A. Then years later, they moved to St. Louis and then come back to L.A., you know. No, you just got to learn your history of the teams. But a lot of them, they just been like the Rams and Raiders. You see them like a moving team, bro. They just come and go. Like you guys been coming back to Oakland, but you moved from LA and then came back to Oakland, now Las Vegas. So it's
but
like
see, the biggest problem is because the city of Oakland would make empty promises and not give us what the hell they promised us to begin with. There should have been a stadium built in Oakland. That was the only right thing to really do. And then, of course, when Al moved the first time going down to LA promised him a new stadium as well. And that didn't happen. So it looked like that just California got into the game of lying to Al. And it took his son to just go ahead and say enough was enough and move him to Vegas. But I honestly don't believe that was probably the best choice.
yeah, like, but at this point, you guys got Las Vegas, so at least you got something promised. But wasn't it originally like Al Davis's plan before the NFL didn't approve him to move to Vegas? Because I think there was like a documentary that he actually wanted to move the Raiders to Vegas during the 80s, and they were forced to move to LA.
Well, I think it was like that because of the gambling, correct? Because
Yeah.
because gambling wasn't legal. But see, now everything's changed. I'm sure Al probably would have moved the Raiders to Vegas, but he wouldn't have sold out the legacy to do so.
He probably would have done it differently, but I've heard some stories about it where he was actually denied that location. And he was I think that was another option he wanted to move to was Vegas.
Yeah. I mean, either way, that's where we are now.
Yeah.
Now, whether we can do anything with it, I mean, I know that they're trying to change the legacy, and I know they're trying to change the image of what a Raiders should be.
Yeah.
But I think us old schoolers need to kind of hold on to what it used to be, because we're probably not going to see it again. Honestly, I see it changing to the guard, bro. Like our legacy is going to be flushed down the toilet sooner rather than later.
Yeah, different type of culture because Josh McDaniels is just doing the Patriot way, like you said. You want that shit out of here, and we just have to wait and see what happens. But the last couple of years, you can say as being a spoiler fan, we've had some success, but Shanahan has a track record with players not staying healthy, and he has a track record of not finishing the big games, bro. Like. A lot of fans are just saying, hey, I would be happy to have Kyle Shanahan. I'm like saying, hey, are you okay with winning 2 playoff games and then you choke? Hey, I get it. I get it. For some Cowboy fans, they would rather take him over McCarthy.
Yeah.
And a lot of coaches.
That. You know what's really good about being here in Texas? You don't hear Dallas fans saying anything right now. They are saying absolutely nothing because of the terrible draft they had.
Like who goes for a D tackle? And then you got these other Cowboy content creators acting like this guy's the next great thing, bro. I'm just taking a laugh out of it. But then again, I can respect other opinions. And there's quite a few realistic Dallas fans I have the utmost respect for, which is Cowboys Corner. He's not one of those Dak sexual guys that kisses up. No, he likes to be realistic. He'll criticize his team, and sometimes they may not like it, but he's definitely somebody you can definitely check out, man. This guy, he's not like some of those typical Cowboy fans, bro. Like some Cowboy fans may not agree with him, but he wants better. Like when I was on his show, he was talking about the draft, and what he said about the draft was it was like kind of like the word good job, but you get a pizza, but it wasn't like a good job you were just rewarded or something.
Actually, yeah, I was just looking at that. There really wasn't anybody I was pounding the table for except for Hendon Hooker, and we didn't get him. I figured as soon as we got rid of Derek Carr, we needed a mobile quarterback. All right, that line can't block. And I don't want to trust anybody behind that line who can't run. So with us not getting Hendon Hooker, that really took the wind out of my sails. But I would have to say that probably the best draft pick would be in between Tyree Wilson and Michael Mayer.
Oh, Michael Mayer, I think hands down is the best tight end in the draft class, but we'll wait and see how that plays out. Going into my team, the draft was pretty interesting. We had to wait to the 3rd round. I like that we got the safety from Penn State. This guy's a baller. I feel like that's a position that can definitely be improved at that point. So I like the fact we went there. We moved up a spot or so to get him. And then we get a kicker, which I just hope this guy is the next Justin Tucker, or else I don't really want to draft a kicker early. But since your team has had history of drafting a kicker, which is Seabass, the first round pick, I don't know how people value kickers that high. It's like, dude, you can get a kicker undrafted, you can get one late round, get the other position of needs. But I get it. You want the position that is important. Special teams, you need a kicker who can kick the touchbacks, who can kick the long distance. But do you feel like that position is very important in some ways?
It's extremely important because without a competitive, logical kicker, you're not going to get those easy gimme 3 points. You know what I mean? And with Jano, when we drafted him in the first round, I thought it was crazy too. But man, did he work out. That guy was banging him through at 60 yards for how many seasons did he play? I mean, that guy was probably the bright spot of our team for at least a decade. Now he should have been drafting him in the first round. You know what I mean? But honestly, I don't know if I would think I'd pick a kicker anywhere before the third round.
Yeah,
it's kicker, for Christ's sake. I mean, you've got many more positions on the field that you need to fill.
Yeah, there's a lot of positions of I felt like we neglected a tackle, but then going into the press conference from looking at our offensive line coach, he really feels confident about Colt McKivitz. And Colt McKivitz, I've kind of given him a solid grade as far as he's gotten better throughout the last couple of years. He's kind of improved. He was a 5th round guy. He kind of just made strides, but as a pass blocker, this guy does better than Mike McGlinchey. But run blocking, that's something he needs to work on. But I feel that if the O-line coach has the utmost confidence for this guy, which I like this kid's nastiness. He just knows how to he got under Aaron Donald a little bit, and he made him pay for it. But then to have confidence with somebody like Spencer Burford, this guy's bulking up. He's looking like, I think he was one of the best offensive linemen in the draft last year, and I was able to get this guy on my show. And this guy's bulking up. He's yoking up some muscles. So I think a lot of these players that go into this offseason, they know they hit the rookie wall, but they're working on getting stronger and faster. And usually the second year, that's when they make the big leap.
Right. And especially knowing what we know now, these athletes nowadays, these kids are machines, man. These guys are built and chiseled out of just granite. You know what I mean? What they're able to do with their bodies now compared to what they were able to do with them in the past just makes them physical, freakish athletes. And it's the NFL is pretty much your all-stars of college. That's pretty much what the NFL is. And everybody in college can pretty much play. And I think it's only 6% of college players get drafted. These guys are maniacs nowadays, man. And it's just, they're a lot more physical. They're faster. They're stronger to the point to where now we have hybrid safeties playing linebackers. We would have never heard about that back in the day.
Oh yeah. Different era. When I interviewed Willie Harper, and he's exactly your typical hybrid in today's NFL, and he never thought of it. They never described that word in him because he was actually supposed to play safety or cornerback or something from Nebraska, but he played linebacker, had a great career. There was just a lot of players at the time that could have been considered hybrids. You look at Julian Peterson. This guy was an all-around talent player. This guy was just covering, playing anywhere on the football field. In today's NFL, that's exactly what they're building linebackers to be. You got to have the coverage ability. You got to be able to make the big-time plays and all that stuff. So, that is something that most today's NFL is you got to cover. Forget about the sideline tackles at times. You got to be able to do both.
Well, that was one thing I was wondering. I was going to go ahead and ask you. Do you guys run a 4-3?
We run a 4-3 defense. It's like a 4-3, 4-3 defense. Mostly we have 2 of our linebackers there. So then we have our sandbacker and then our DN and our D tackles, right? 2 of them. So we run a 4-3.
So 4-3-5-2, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right in there, right? Yeah. Well, you guys got a good run stopper in Cleve Farrell, which is something that you guys needed.
Oh
When we
yes.
picked him up with the 4th overall pick, we were expecting a quarterback hitting machine. And of course, he did not pan out being that guy with the 4th overall pick, but he's a hell of a run stopper. It was like I was really like I guess what you would call surprised that we went and got Chandler Jones and the way we used Chandler Jones, which was pretty much the same way we would have used Klee, and Klee was a much better run stopper than Chandler Jones. I also thought that Klee was better in coverage than Chandler Jones, which we actually had Chandler Jones in a lot of coverage last year. So with y'all's defense, with the way you guys have already built up your front line, where do you see Klee playing? Do you see him playing linebacker or do you see him playing defensive end?
I think they have him playing DN because they like what he can do as a run stopper, but I think they want to use him on situational downs. So they're going to either have him on the rotation. And, talking about the players that we picked up, the last couple of years we've taken flyers with some of your cast-offs, and they've kind of panned out pretty solidly. Like Arden Key was one of those guys,
I was going to ask you about him too. Is he still on the team?
No, he was with the Jaguars last year, and then he just signed a 3-year deal with the Titans.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
but he actually racked up some sacks with you guys, didn't he?
Yeah, he racked up 6.5 sacks, which was his season best. And then when he went to Jacksonville, I think he had 4.5 sacks. And then he just cashed in Tennessee with a 3-year type deal with $21 million, which, I guess we find ways to make the most out of these players. And we don't like to go big on certain players. We should have taken flyers with Yannick Ngakoue or somebody else, but no, we want to just save some money. We want to get some guys who are hungry and want to prove something.
Can you believe he's still out there?
Yeah, like that. But he's not a run stopper. He's more of a pass rusher. That's the thing.
Right.
So that's his only weakest spot is a run defense. He cannot stop the run, but when it comes to getting to the quarterback, he's really good at that spot. But I'm surprised he's still available.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, man, I like Divine Diablo if he can stay healthy. That's always been Divine Diablo's Achilles heel. He'll go about 7 weeks and then he'll be out for 4. Last year, I think he only played 6 weeks before he was gone for the rest of the year. And the last 2 seasons, it's kind of been like that. But Divine Diablo is a perfect example of a hybrid linebacker / safety, which, bro, I'm all about keeping Divine Diablo. We need anything and anyone who plays linebacker to come over here and at least do something, because after having Blake Martinez last year, who cashed in his Pokemon card and retired after 2 games when he was our leading tackler, that was when Divine Diablo got hurt, by the way. That was kind of that took the wind out of our sails, if you will.
Yeah, it's crazy how some players just retire after that. It's like, dude, this guy was still young, and then but yeah, this kid Diablo, he has the hybrid, and he's like, that's exactly what you look for in today's NFL. They got to do a little bit of everything, and like you said, durability is probably the most question mark, because if he can stay healthy, he's a factor. And
the thing is that these guys, with them being hybrid linebacker safeties, they tend to be on the smaller side of what we're used to seeing a linebacker being. But they're running 4.3s and 4.4s, hitting people like a Mack truck. When you're moving at that type of momentum, don't think you're not going to hurt yourself too. They've always told you in football, momentum means everything, and if you do everything right, you will not get hurt. That's not always the case.
No, you're taking a risk, and you're going at a full speed, and sometimes you get hurt at the end of the day. So, that's just how you play the game. It's not safe for everybody. This is a physical, violent sport. So, trying to soften the game a little bit, it's just question. I like defense at times. I want to see a great defense put a great offense into a low score game and earn every damn yard.
Right, and that's what I would like to see too, because it made the game more interesting to watch. It really did, because when your defensive players come and they're standouts, and I mean, I can think of a team right off top would be the '89 Giants with Lawrence Taylor and Carl Banks. and Everson Walls, and there was a few of those guys over there with the Giants that were just that defense was beastly, and any offense could have won with that defense. I think they had Phil Simms and Mark Ingram and Stephen Baker back then, and David Meggett. They had a decent offense, but their defense was what scared people. The same thing with like the 77 Raiders. 77 Raiders defense was the scariest defense that anybody's ever seen. You had Matuzak, you had Alzado, you had a lot of these cats that were just, your average bad boys of the NFL, which is what the Raiders were. And
they were called the villains. Like wearing the black was the bad guy, like kind of like how in professional wrestling, you have those heels who are the bad guys that people want to boo and hate. That's what you guys represented. Like in the modern day and era of that era, like for those young fans, if you don't know what the definition of what the villain was in professional football, you had the Raiders and Steelers that had the hated rivalry. If you have to go back in history, man, the Steelers and Raiders define the villain, like the rivalry. I think it was probably one of the most interesting rivalries during the 70s. You had two of the most physical, intimidating teams go at each other. You don't have that kind of physicality type of game like that.
Not anymore. It's gone. It's gone because they've done watered it down so much, my friend. It's just not the same. But it's never going to go back to being the way it was because of how unsafe it was. Now they're talking about a new kickoff rule, new punting rule. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
Oh yeah.
I'm really having this funny feeling that within 10 years we're going to be watching flag football.
Yeah, I got a feeling it's going to happen at some point. Man, we can go on as long as you want on this topic, bro, but I'm pretty sure you got some stuff to do, bro. But for anybody else, man, unlike some other content creators, I am fine with promoting your channel. I am fine with not complaining with other people, bro. Corey Davis is running a hangout. If you want to hang out, go hang out with Corey Davis's channel. That dude has a cool channel. He can talk football. Unlike some other content creators, they get a little upset and say, don't put that on my channel. Don't promote your channel, dude. I can give zero damn, bro. Like everybody, dude, you need to help others. That's how I look at it. Don't
post your channel all over my shit. Go all over my social media. I'll even give you my passwords to my Twitter to where you can push your channel out from there. That'll really make Raider Nation happy on Twitter. Seeing me pushing 49er content. Yeah, that'll really make them happy. But man, I do appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much. And
bro.
A shocker, man. Will Jacoby Myers take over the wide receiver 2 role behind Devontae Adams over Hunter Renfrow? Hunter Renfrow will be traded post June 1st.
Oh, yeah.
And I do believe that's going to happen.
That's possible. It's very possible because I've heard the trade talks that he could be out because of Jacoby Myers. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but man, that'd be a shocker if he still stays on the roster. But
to me, it's going to be an out either way because McDumbass gave 3 major contracts out last year that didn't involve Chandler Jones. That was Derek Carr, Darren Waller, and Hunter Renfrow. Well, 2 or 3 of those guys are not here anymore.
Yeah, that's bummer. And I guess I can see why you come up with the name McDumbass. That just goes with McDonald's. But yeah, bro. But yeah, dude, definitely appreciate you on your time, bro. But for anybody else who doesn't know what your platform is, bro, tell them where they can find your channel and find your other social media platform.
Well, on Instagram, I am The Raider Critique. And then, of course, right here on YouTube, it is The Raider Critique. And then you can find me on Twitter at InGun421. I really don't fuck around too much on there. There's too much crying that goes on over there. You know what I mean? But then, you could also hit me up on Facebook too. But I'd rather, if you're going to do that, just hit me up on the Instagram, man.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, yeah, this guy, he's realistic. He's an old school fan. And you have to appreciate content creators who put truth, man. We don't want none of the cookie cutter. We want the truth.
And that's the problem, man. Like with the mainstream media, all they've ever done is sugarcoat and water down everything about all of our damn teams. It's why ESPN's got such a bad name. It's why Pat McAfee is having such an issue right now after he moved to ESPN, because a lot of us do not want to be a part of that corporate machine. because a lot of us don't drink the corporate Kool-Aid.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And for anybody else, man, thank you guys for tuning in. And we'll have another episode on CG's channel Saturday. But hey, for Raider Critique, awesome to have him on the show. We'll work on something down the road, brother.
Hell yeah, brother. Thank